Good morning, everyone. Put that down. Okay. Oh, here we are. There's water in it, I promise. Oh, no. And if I don't move this, I'll end up falling over it. So let me tell you how I got here. It started at 9 o'clock on a Monday morning. And even if you're self-employed like me, you know that 9 o'clock on a Monday morning is not the time to make a decision. But I got a text message from Reverend Cece, which is a kind of a strange thing. I could probably count on one hand the number of times she's initiated a conversation with me via text. And it said, I know you can do a Sunday service. The question is, do you want to? So when I remembered how to breathe again, I realized, or what I assumed anyway, was that she was ticking off the boxes. What are my new practitioners willing to do? Facilitate a class, conduct a workshop. So I managed to get sent off. I'm open to it. And I almost immediately get back, I was thinking the Sunday after Christmas. And I'm sure you can guess what my first thought was. That was the second thought. My first thought was, this Christmas? So here we are. Now, if you've seen me up on this stage before during announcements, you might be able to guess what my personal goal is for today. Can anybody guess? Yes, don't cry. Thank you, Judy. Don't cry is my personal goal for today. I don't consider myself much of a crier in general, but you know, there is something about this place and all of you that is very special. There's a generosity of spirit here that it's just not commonplace in the world yet. So in May, when I stood up here and I asked you to march in Dayton's Gay Pride Parade, you turned out in tremendous numbers. This was the first year that we marched in the parade, and we were either the second or third largest group. I think the Unitarians were larger than us, and that's who I have my sights set on for next year. But what I came to realize is that you didn't walk in that parade just because you wanted to raise the profile of our center in the community, which you did. But I also know that you didn't walk in that parade because you wanted to spend time with people who know how to throw a party. What I came to realize is that when I told you that 40% of LGBTQ kids, 250,000 children that are homeless, 40% of children that are homeless identify as LGBTQ, that hurt your hearts, and you wanted to do something. When I told you that as many as 1 in 8 transgender women of color are murdered, you were horrified and you wanted to do something. Now, you may have noticed that the readings from the candle lighting this morning were a little bit different. I was very inspired last week by Reverend Cece, and so I found 7 readings and wrote a whole new one. 6 of those 7 people, I think we could all agree that they could wear the label of activist. The 7th, the first reading actually for Judaism, came from Anne Frank. And while she probably didn't live long enough to take on that mantle of activist, I think her simple and honest words probably have inspired more people to speak up for themselves and others than we could possibly count. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, Alice Walker, Mahatma Gandhi, Thich Nhat Hanh, and the first female chief of the Cherokee Nation, Wilma Mankiller. These are all people of faith. Perhaps not an organized religion, but they believe in themselves and in others, in their culture or their religion. And they say to themselves and to others, from your place of deepest faith, go out and do. Now, you might not have thought much about walking in that pride parade. It was 6 or 8 blocks. Smile, wave, hand out some pens, wonder how the drag queens managed all of that. But you said yes to people who are routinely told no. No, you can't act like that. No, you can't look like that. No, you're not a valid human being. You showed love and acceptance even though you might have been a little uncomfortable. Something that simple. was a defiant act of unconditional love in a world that scoffs at it. Several months ago, Reverend CC sent me an email out of the blue. Now, obviously, I need to sit up a little straighter for these surprise communications from her. And the subject line said, "I read this and thought of you." Thank you for not laughing. In the body of the email was a quote from the book God of Love by Mirabai Starr, which she's used a lot here this fall. And it said, "For as long as I can remember, I have been in love with a God I'm not sure I believe in." For as long as I can remember, I have been in love with a God I'm not sure I believe in. And I was just stunned. Because here in front of me was something I had never been able really to do for myself. It was my faith distilled into a single sentence. There in black and white was something that had only at best ever been sort of fuzzy and nebulous. "Hey, Steph, what do you believe in?" A little of this, a little of that, thoughts or things. But no, there it was in front of me. For as long as I can remember, I have been in love with a God I'm not sure I believe in. And I just read it over and over and over. And finally, my first really concrete thought I had about it was, how does Reverend Cece do that? They have to teach that in ministerial school. They have to. But I've looked at that class catalog and I didn't see X-ray vision into the congregant soul 101 anywhere. So I'm wondering if you get an email for a super secret catalog when you start your third year or something, You suddenly get an email from Louise Hay in your inbox. "Click on this link, darling. The password is Michael Bernard Beckwith spelled backwards." Oh, look, there it is. X-ray vision into the congregant soul. How to be a conflict resolution ninja. That looks good. How to survive a church remodel without alcohol. That shouldn't be an elective. For as long as I can remember, I have been in love with a God I'm not sure I believe in. The crazy thing is, I didn't really know what it meant. It was true. It sang to me. I knew it was true, but I didn't understand how it was my truth. And that's uncomfortable. That's really, really uncomfortable. I knew instinctively I had some sort of deep answer to a question I didn't realize I'd been asking. And so I've had to walk around with that, this kind of twist in my chest, wondering what's coming next, hoping it comes soon, dreading that it'll come soon. And what I've discovered is that discomfort hasn't killed me. Ta-da! It's trained me to be okay with no answer. Now, last week, Reverend Cece talked about our organization's theme for the coming year. We're focusing on my favorite part of the Global Heart Vision, a world that works for everyone. Now, the fun part is that nobody has any idea what exactly a world that works for everyone looks like. We don't have that answer. I think we can all agree, though, that it is a divine idea. As Reverend Cece said, a divine idea is the bold idea that what is to come is amazing. So we might not know what amazing looks like. But I think there's a pretty good idea of how to make it happen. It involves unconditional love for this crazy world of ours, and it involves every last one of us. You know what unconditional love feels like, whether because of your children or your grandchildren or your pet. Unconditional love of the world might be a little bit more hairy, but you do know what that feels like too. You've probably felt it right here. You witness something incredible and life-affirming. You participate in something powerful and joyous, but it wells up in you and it explodes through you, and you can feel God's love for everything, every living thing thundering inside you in this glorious universal yes. And then the voice in your brain says, don't be naive. Stop acting like a child. You're a fool. Have you watched the news recently? So here you are with this soul glowing love inside of you, and your brain's going, pay attention. Welcome to the discomfort. And look, no fire, no lightning, no one's falling out. We're okay. And each time we feel that discomfort of loving a seemingly broken world in an unconditional way, we have to decide if we can live with that discomfort, or will we cover it over with a cloak of cynicism? I can't do anything about that. I can't help those people. It's all too far away. I'm just one person. It's too hard. I don't like those people. How am I supposed to love the world unconditionally when I can't stand the jerk that lives 3 doors down? Trust me, he lives 3 doors down from me too. I mean, we've all been there, right? Sarah McLachlan starts singing and you just got to turn it off. And that's okay. From time to time when we are able, and it's important to recognize that not everyone is able to walk away from their oppression. But sometimes it's okay. It's not only okay, it's healthy to turn off Sarah McLachlan. But most of the time we really need to stay in it. And I will tell you that the longer you're willing to stay in it, that discomfort, it doesn't ultimately go away, but it can get better. So ask yourself this: am I willing to love the world unconditionally? Are you willing? And if your answer is yes, then ask yourself this: what is mine to do today? Am I willing to love the world unconditionally? Okay. So what is mine to do today? Now, if your answer is no, this is going to be hard on you. Look, folks, we are called to this. We are called to participate in the creation of a world that works for everyone. And if you do not believe that you are called to this, then I invite you to turn on the news. And then come to me and say, the world doesn't need that much love. It doesn't need me. We are called to participate in the creation of a world that works for everyone. And people don't like to hear that. Only religious people are called to things. I'm not religious. I'm spiritual. Baloney. We are all called to the best things in our life. We're called to the hardest things in our life. We're called to our relationships with one another, with ourselves, with the world around us, with whatever you believe in. We're called to our grief. We're called to our joy. I'm going to tell you my favorite story. This is my favorite story about someone answering their calling. And it is a religious story, and actually Reverend Cece has told it. But bear with me, I want to tell it in a little more detail. Muslims call it the night of power. It's the night the Prophet Muhammad began to receive the Quran. Now, Muhammad was an intelligent and curious man, but like so many of his time and place, he did not necessarily read or write. So one night, like he had most of his life, he went into a cave to meditate and to contemplate what he had learned that day. And suddenly, the angel Gabriel appeared to him and said, recite. And again, because Muhammad was a man of his place and time, and he did not necessarily read or write, he said, I am not one who recites. And so the angel Gabriel wrapped him up in his arms and he squeezed him and he said again, recite. Frightened now and uncomfortable, Muhammad again said, but I am not one who recites. And so this time the angel Gabriel squeezed him hard and insisted, recite. And because we are always at a moment of choice, Muhammad then had to make a decision. Would he cling to the ideas of who and what he thought he was and grow ever more uncomfortable, physically uncomfortable at that point? Or would he let go of some of those ideas of who and what he thought he was and allow a divine idea to be born through him as him? And so the decision made, the Prophet Muhammad then said, "What shall I recite?" Now you might be saying to yourself, that's fine and dandy. The Prophet was literally having the squeeze put on him. I'm not in that kind of danger. What if this is really uncomfortable? What if these are people that I really don't like? I'm just not in that kind of peril. Are you sure? Have you turned on the news recently? A few years ago, I had the great fortune to attend a leadership conference featuring our organization's spiritual leader, Dr. Ken Gordon. And in the midst of one of his talks, he prayed for someone in attendance. And when he was done, you could have heard a pin drop in the room. We were all so moved by the power of his word. And something he said has stayed with me all of that time. He said, "What will it take for you to accept that we are each less without you? What will it take for you to accept that we are each less without you?" When we are not each at our bright and shining best, when we are not each given the opportunity to be the expression of God we are each here to be, when we do not step out, even when we are uncomfortable, we are each less. I'm sorry, but our oneness is undeniable. We have tried to deny it for the whole of human history, and it just keeps coming up. No, they're different. We need to keep them separate. And it never works. It never works. A world that works for everyone takes everyone working for the world. Reverend Cece said a couple of weeks ago, we are free when we cheer each other on. When we cheer each other on, when we lift each other up, when we are spiritual doulas for one another, when we work together for a world that works for everyone, we are free. Can we get free? Can we do that? Can we do that together? Because we can't do it apart. Mirabai Starr says to us, be the prophet that you are. So my question to you is, what will you recite? I'm asking a lot of questions and I'm not providing any answers because I don't have them. I don't have your answers. I have no idea how you will participate in making this a world that works for everyone. But you're here to do something very specific, and only you can do it. Again, welcome to the discomfort. Are you willing to love the world unconditionally? Then what is yours to do? Maybe it's something very organized, a nonprofit, or joining a service group, or one of the new small interest groups that are beginning to form here at our center. Maybe it's making eye contact with a homeless person so that they feel like a fellow human being for at least once during the day. Maybe it's planting a garden and giving away what you don't need. Maybe it's a letter to the editor. Maybe it's standing in support of a transgender child. Maybe it's walking in a parade. But whether you offer someone your smile or you put your white body between the barrel of a state-sanctioned gun and a black stranger, I know that we are all vital and necessary. We are each less without the other. A world that works for everyone takes everyone. Are you willing to love the world unconditionally? Then what is yours to do today? Will you say that with me? I am willing to love the world unconditionally. What is mine to do today? I am willing to love the world unconditionally. What is mine to do today? I am willing to love the world unconditionally. What is mine to do today? For as long as I can remember, I have been in love with a God I'm not sure I believe in. And then that twist loosens. And I know. I believe in you. And I believe in me. And I believe that a world that works for everyone is possible here and now. I believe in our willingness to unconditionally love a world that is trying to convince us it isn't worthy of that love. I believe that we are the living embodiment of the love this world needs now. And if that makes me naive or childlike or foolish, then so be it. But I will not cover up the bright and shining heart of God in me, or in you, as you, with the dark cloak of cynicism. I will not dismiss our oneness. I will not dismiss our unity. I will not dismiss what a world that works for everyone looks like, because the answer isn't clear now. I will be the fool if that's what it takes. But I will not believe in less. Not for us, not of us. I invite you to be a fool too, because I think that's what this world needs most of right now. Loving fools. I am willing to love the world unconditionally, and this is mine to do today. So I have one last thing for you. It's part of a Franciscan prayer. It says, may God bless you with discomfort, at easy answers, hard hearts, half-truths, and superficial relationships, so that you may live deep within your heart where God's Spirit dwells. May God bless you with tears to shed for those who suffer from pain, rejection, starvation, and war, so that you may reach out your hand to comfort them and turn their pain into joy. And may God bless you with enough foolishness to believe that you can make a difference in this world and in your neighborhood, so that you will courageously try what you don't think you can do. Will you join me now in consciousness, in prayer, in thought? So centered here in this wonderful place, in this place of love and joy, freedom and power, I recognize and embrace that God is all there is, flowing through us, expressing as us. Every heartbeat is divine. Every breath, the one breath. No person, no idea, no heart is outside of the bright and shining light of the one. We are each blessed, and we are each a blessing in this world. I know that inside each and every one of us present here and the world over is a divine idea waiting to be born. I know that the idea that a world that works for everyone is not some far off ideal, but is possible here and now. I know it is through each and every one of us with our own special gifts and actions, that this divine idea is embraced and lifted up. It is celebrated and embodied. And I am grateful. I am grateful for all who are present today and who all might hear this message. I am grateful for the wisdom and love that fills each of us with every moment. I am grateful for the divine idea of a world that works for everyone. And so I release these words. I release them into the world and into the universe that only says yes. I release them knowing that it is already done. The truth is here and now. And we say together, and so it is.